All right. Thanks, everyone. Happy Monday. Nick here with Jayhawk, helping you break down tonight's NBA DFS slates on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Thanks for bearing with us. I know we're starting about 5 minutes late today, dealing with
Nick, I
some
can't hear you
technical.
right now.
Oh, no. You can't hear me? Let's see here. So, anyone in chat, can you hear me first and foremost? And then, let's see. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. Uh, let's see. I mean, it should be working.
um,
You can't hear me? No. Damn it. Can you guys in chat hear me? Oh, they can hear us perfectly fine. Okay, so it's on Jayhawk's end. Sorry, guys, for the delay. Again, whenever I produce, it's a little clunky. We've been dealing with issues with EVMux, our software in general, lately. We're probably going to get on with a rep there. Um,
no, Nick, can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, I had the
Okay, so chat heard us both fine, so I guess we're
yeah.
good now. But yeah, thanks everyone for bearing with us. Obviously, dealing with some technical difficulties. Um, happy Monday indeed. But yeah, so interesting part of tonight's slates. FanDuel did cut off the 10 p.m. games, so we're dealing with kind of two separate slates. And yeah, that's Memphis, Sacramento, Knicks, Golden State, and Hawks, Lakers. But first, we'll go through the major injury news, and there is some chalk that does kind of extend between the two sites. So that should make things at least a little bit easier. But yeah, Jayhawk, I know you're more so DK, but what are your initial thoughts so far on this slate? Obviously, a little bit different between the sites tonight, but most of the value I do think is coming from these early games.
Yeah, man, definitely an interesting slate for sure. When I kind of first looked at the slate, I didn't see like any plays I was like dying to get to. Definitely a lot of good matchups for sure. And I agree with you. The early games are kind of the targets, but definitely an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, man. And yeah, I mean, we could go through the injury report real quick, some of the key spots. Cleveland definitely won in that first game in a paced up matchup against the Pacers. Really good spot for them. No Donovan Mitchell, no Mobley, no Max Strus. Dean Wade is doubtful. So yeah, we've been playing Cleveland a lot in these types of spots. Some days it works, some days it doesn't. Luckily, Dean Wade is not available, which makes that whole conversation one we don't have to have. But yeah, I mean, Garland looks pretty decent both sides. We're seeing Levert as a very popular play. Jared Allen as well. No surprises really that all these starters are drawing ownership. I like Okoro. I always tend to get over the field on him, but Sam Merrill very popular again coming off the bench. I mean, what's your take on Merrill first and foremost, and then which Cleveland Cavs are you trusting tonight here? Because it seems like they're all going to draw at least some ownership.
Yeah, so I actually really like the spot for Cleveland as a
Mhm.
whole. I will know Indiana's been a little bit slower with Hallie kind of playing hurt, which I know is kind of shocking to think about because Indy's typically known as a pretty fast paced team. But I love Samuel here, 4,200. I know he's coming off the bench, man, but they're pretty depleted right now. I think it's a
Yeah.
fantastic spot for him. And then I think both Levert and Garland, both really good plays here as guard plays, especially at Garland at 17%. Really like the ownership with him.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that Garland's not more popular. I know he hasn't really spiked the ceiling in these spots with Mitchell out, but he's definitely capable of it. We're getting him below 8K, projecting him for 37 minutes. I think he's a really, really strong play at his ownership. I like Levert. The FanDuel price at 7,500 is a little bit ugly. Not going to lie there. Probably going to start here at shooting guard. We're going to have to wait and see. But regardless, that feels a little hefty to want to get to him at 30% owned. I like him a lot on DK where he's only 68, but definitely some sticker shock for me there. And then Allen, we've seen in these games with Mobley out, does have increased upside. So those are the three I trust the most. I don't mind Merrill. I think personally, for a little bit more, I'd rather take the risk on Okoro, just knowing the minutes have been more consistent for him, a little bit less scoring dependent. But obviously, it could hurt me not getting to Merrill, knowing what he's capable of in terms of 3-point shooting. So, yeah, man, it's a very interesting spot. It is the first game on the slate. We will have those lineups. And then opposite the Cavs, we do have the Pacers. I mean, no significant injury news there. I guess let's quickly go game by game, I guess, because we're dealing with the two different sites. But yeah, is there anything on Indy? We don't have to spend too much time on them, but is there anything on Indy standing out to you?
Yeah, man. So not anything in particular. Jalen's been drawing the most ownership on DraftKings. I guess I get it, man. I don't know. 4K, we don't have a ton of value today, so I don't hate it, but Indy's kind of a team I'm not getting too much of. How about you?
Yeah, if there's anything here, it's probably in the front court. Turner's okay, not loving the price, but Siakam's been playing really well. And then Jalen Smith's actually seen somewhat more consistent minutes lately. So if you're desperate for a value piece, I don't think he's crazy. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Cleveland, even with some of these guys out, not the best matchup. Um, but yeah, let's move right along. Then we have the Pistons here, and we do have some injury news that's probably important with Detroit. Kate Cunningham's questionable. Fontecchio's questionable as well. Still no Thompson. No Grimes for them either. So we've seen with Thompson out that Fontecchio's been sliding in the starting lineup. He is priced up. I wouldn't mind him if he was in here. Cade Cunningham's been playing really well. Yes, this is a matchup with Boston, but they're going to be thin. And with Boston resting so many guys, maybe this game's competitive enough. But where are you at on Detroit? Because I think this is an important piece here, even on DK where you have the extra games. But I'm wondering if we're going to get that Cunningham news or the Fontecchio news sooner or later, because Ivy's obviously going to look better if they're out. And then if Sasser starts, I think he's going to be interesting value as well. So I don't know, man. Obviously a bad matchup, but things could change quickly here for Detroit.
Yeah, man, right there with you. Obviously, Cade's news is pretty much very vital to the slate. So if Cade sits, man, I will love Marcus Sasser here. I know he's up to 4.4K now. He was pretty much sub 3K for a little bit on DraftKings, but I still think he'd be a really good play here. You mentioned Jaden Ivey. I agree. I think he would be a phenomenal mid tier play. His price is climbing though, man. I think he's almost up to 7K now on both sides. So definitely an upper price tag there. And then if Von Necchio sits, man, I actually don't hate Fournier as like a full punt
Mm.
here, because they're already down, I believe, Quinn Grimes as well. So
Yeah, man, that Fournier calls the sneaky one. I actually do like it though. I mean, we don't have him for more than 19 minutes right now, but I think if Fontecchio's out, we could probably project him into the mid 20s. In which case, at his price, he's going to look great. So yeah, man, I'm with you. Definitely got to keep an eye on that. I'll keep my eye on the news. Going to keep refreshing that feed, and obviously the model will update as those things start to break. Then we're dealing with Boston on the other side, and obviously Detroit presents an exceptional matchup for them. Jalen Brown listed as questionable. I thought he was going to play last I checked. I'm looking at the 5:30 injury report now, though, so don't quote me on that. But we do know that Horford, Drew, and Hauser are going to be out here. Porzingis is going to be back, though. But yeah, man, a lot to like here for Boston. I mean, they've been a key part of a lot of slates lately. I don't think they're even banged up as much as they're just deciding to kind of rest these guys in their softer matchups on this road trip. I think it makes sense. I mean, they're going to kind of pull away with the 1 seed probably here. And yeah, they want to get situated for the playoffs. So I guess for now, with Jalen still questionable, where are you at on Boston? Oh, yeah, and him and Tatum, we did just get news 10 minutes ago that they're both questionable as things stand.
yeah, so Boston here. Just a quick note: Hauser. Did you see Hauser yesterday? I know
Oh,
he's not
yeah.
dead, but he had like what, like 10 threes in the first half or something crazy like that.
Yeah, yeah. He was
Uh,
over 40 fantasy points, and then he got hurt, but yeah, it was
yeah,
ridiculous.
that was insane, man. But speaking of Hauser, he is out for tonight. So it's kind of dependent on the rest of the forwards here with Tatum and Brown. But I think Peyton Pritchard either way, man. 4,800. I think he already gets a boost with no Hauser. So I really like him here on both sides. And then Derek White, I think also is fine. Um, I think without Drew Holiday, he should look better as well. So the two guards are the priorities for me. And then I'll mention O'Shea Brissett as well. 3.4K. I think he's decent as a value if one of Brown or Tatum was out. So know him as well.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I think if one or Brown or Tatum is out, the other becomes a top priority, and they join the two guards in White and Pritchard. Those are going to be kind of core plays for me. If all four of them are in, I still do like Tatum and Brown at their respective price points. I do imagine the ownership would come down a little bit. They're not too popular though on each site as things stand in a very soft matchup. I like the Brissett call, especially if he starts. It looks like Svi's drawing some ownership, especially on DK where he's 3K flat. That's pretty risky. I mean, he's very scoring dependent, kind of like a cheaper Sam Merrill. If we do get news that maybe Tatum and Brown are both out, kind of have trouble getting to him right now, though. I did want to bring up the front court quickly. I mean, we're getting Porzingis back. There's no Horford. We saw Cornette kind of ahead of Tillman on the depth chart. It seems like that could be changing. But there is also the thought that maybe Cornette is just the direct backup for Porzingis and Tillman's the direct backup for Horford. I don't know if any of this is set in stone yet, but with Porzingis back, I actually do prefer Tillman as the value here, maybe with Cornette out. But I don't know if you had any takes on that front court. None of those guys are drawing any ownership right now, though, so maybe I'm just digging a little too deep.
Yeah, I think I'd be fine with Tillman here. I don't know, 3,800. I think it's probably a little bit too cheap, even if he's, splitting minutes with Cornette. But yeah, not a huge thing. I think Tillman's fine though.
Yeah, man. So we'll keep an eye on that news, everyone. Obviously, if we get news that Tatum or Brown are out, that's going to make us like these Celtics even more, but also probably make the game even more competitive. Pretty widespread there, last I checked. So that's something we'll keep an eye on. Good transition here. Nice segue. Shouts out to, I don't know who said it first, Power here. I'm not going to pull a comment up, but shouts out for the news that Jimmy's out, right? No Butler tonight for the Miami Heat. Already had Hero and Jovic and Love ruled out, Richardson as well off the bench. So the Heat are going to be pretty damn thin here. And this is not the same 76ers team that we were dealing with earlier in the season. No Embiid obviously takes that defense a few steps back. No Tobias Harris either. Probably going to have Batum in the starting lineup there, but we're going to talk about Miami first. So we know Rozier is going to be in. It looks like we should have Bam Adebayo as well. Hawkes was already going to draw some ownership. I imagine that's going to climb. But where are you at on this Miami team with no Hero or no Butler now? Excuse me.
Yeah, man. So let's start up top here. I think Bam Adebayo, I would have loved to play here, but he's almost up to 9K, man. So on FanDuel, 8,500, I think he'll look still pretty good, but 8.7K is pretty steep of a price point. So I think he's still fine, but definitely increased price point with Bam there. But I think probably my two favorites now are probably going to be Hawkes and Terry Rozier here. Rozier's still at 7K on DraftKings, 7K on FanDuel. He had a really good game without Jimmy last game. I think he'll be a really good play. And then Hawkins didn't have the best game last game, but he's 5K. He should start here, so I really like Hawkins as well. Since Butler's
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. And I will say we still have Jimmy in the model the last time I refreshed, so we're gonna have to update this data. It's gonna take a few minutes. We did just get word though, as I'm saying this, that Tatum is out and
out.
Jalen Brown is in. So I don't want to go back over all of Boston because we just talked about them. But I will say Jalen Brown joins White and Pritchard is probably core plays for you here. Probably boost Porzingis a little bit, but I'm still not sure he's gonna play more than 30 minutes. But you in agreement that Brown's a priority, and does this change anything for you from Boston? I don't want to completely go over them, but obviously this is important news.
Yeah, man. Really like Jalen Brown, like you mentioned. Kristaps is interesting, man, because if he plays more than 30 minutes, I think he's a really good play.
Yeah,
Now, if he doesn't, then he's probably out of play for me. So kind of interested to see what they do there. I just think it makes Pritchard and White both better plays as well. So
yeah.
I
Yeah, those three, White, Pritchard, Brown, are definitely core plays for me. And then I'll probably mix in some Porzingis, maybe Brissett, Tillman, depending on what the starting lineups look like.
yeah,
But yeah, we went through Miami. I mean, there's a lot to like there, obviously, with Jimmy on. Still waiting on that data to update. I agree. I think Hawkes is a priority if he's starting. Really like Rozier, and then Bam if you could fit him. But there's a lot priced in Bam's range that I think you produce similarly. So maybe don't have to force that situation. But yeah, pretty solid spot there for them. And then on the other side of that game, just a second here. We have the 76ers. And yeah, they're kind of banged up. I don't know that we need to spend too much time on them. We know most of this news already. Still no Embiid, no Melton. They do have Maxi back. He's playing pretty well. So his price is slowly climbing. I don't mind the spot for him here. Oubre's had some really good games lately. Kind of a boomer bust play at his price point. And then Paul Reed's fine. I think they're still going to start Bamba probably. But if I'm playing a center from Philly, it's going to still be Paul Reed. But again, no real priorities here for me. I don't mind Maxi or Oubre as GPP plays, but is there anything for you standing out from Philly?
yeah. So I think the two targets for me with Tobias out probably would be Maxi and Ubre here. I don't know, man. Maxi had a really bad shooting game. The last time out with uh, not Ubre, no Harris here. I
Yeah.
think he's fine. Don't love it, don't hate it. I think we have some better guard plays, and I think Ubre probably would be my favorite. 6,300. He hit in his last game. He had a great first half. Pretty much did nothing in the second half. So I don't expect that once again from him.
Yeah, I do tend to agree. And I will just say on Maxi, I mean, you're right. He hasn't been shooting well, but the main thing is the minutes are back. He played 40 last game, 37 the game before. So, yeah, I mean, has he been as good as he should be? No, but the price is down, and maybe if he starts to find that shot here, then he could be a really valuable option, especially a little bit under owned. But yeah, tough to call anything really a core play for Philly, given some of the other spots we have for news. And we did get a question about Banton. I think it might have been Jose, and a couple others as well brought him up. But we'll talk about Portland now as we get into this next game here. So we have Portland at Chicago. Should be a pretty competitive spot. No Jeremy Grant, still no Brogdon. Shadion Sharp is out. Robert Williams obviously out for the season. Also Matisse Thybulle questionable. Not that that's a major needle mover, but I do think we want to get to some of Portland here against a Chicago team that's pretty banged up as well. So first and foremost, I will say Aiton's been playing excellent. I mean, at his price, he's kind of similar to Bam. I do actually like him a lot here. Simons is fine, but Banton drawing all the ownership in this backcourt. I mean, we have him for 33 minutes. He's been playing exceptionally well, getting assists, getting rebounds, the occasional stock here or there. So I like Banton. I don't mind Simons, especially given his ownership. It's pretty reasonable compared to his backcourt mate here. But I do like the matchup, and I think all three of those guys for Portland are pretty appealing to me. That's really it. I'm not all that interested in guys like Kamara, Murray, etc. They're kind of fine as last pieces in. But where you at on Portland, man? Because I think I will be pretty heavy on Banton tonight, even though he's chalk. And I do think Aiton is probably a stand I'm going to take in tournaments against Vooch here. Probably one of my favorite center plays.
Yeah, man. I'm actually pretty much aligned with you on Portland here. I love Delano Banton. He probably will be my one of my top three highest exposed guards here. And then I like to go with Aiden Man. Like I know he's up to 8K, but he's been very, very consistent at that price. So I like Aiden in tournaments. And then I will note, as long as Scoot, is maintaining being limited here, playing limited minutes, I think Simon's gonna look elite as well at 7,700 in tournaments. So I love all three of those calls, man. But really like Banton as a priority in my builds.
Yeah, man, and we're getting that extra usage too with Grant out, so it's
Yeah,
just a great spot for them. And then yeah, Chicago hasn't been all that imposing. They're banged up here as well. Kobe White's doubtful. No Patrick Williams or Levine still. Alex Caruso, excuse me, is also questionable now. Caruso was going to be a play I was going to be heavy on here. Obviously. Obviously, excuse me, if he's out, Ao is going to look even better. I mean, both those guys were going to be solid regardless. DeRozan as well. I will say, I mean, Vooch is drawing some ownership here. Aiton's been playing pretty well. I've done a decent job kind of picking out where Vooch does well or not this season. This one's kind of a tough one, though, I will say, because Aiton's kind of inconsistent on the defensive end. Usually, I don't like playing Vooch against other big centers, and then I load up on him against smaller front courts. This is kind of that matchup that's kind of in between for me. So where he's popular, I'd rather play Aiton on the other side if I'm picking between the two. But DeRozan definitely a priority for me. Caruso if he's in, and then Ao if Caruso's out. But what's your take here with Chicago? Because you got to love the spot here against these Blazers.
yeah, man. Fantastic spot here for Chicago. DeRozan's, we'll start out with him coming off a big letdown game,
Mm-hmm.
last game out, I believe against Washington. So I think he's fine here. 8,300. I don't love the price point, but he's definitely has a huge ceiling here. I'm getting mostly to the guards here of Ao and Alex Caruso. I think Ao, man, like he had a really good game last game. I'd never really seen that type of ceiling out of Ao. But
Mm-hmm.
if he stays like sub 15% on DraftKings, I do like him a lot in tournaments, especially if Caruso sits. So,
Yeah.
um, and then in terms of Vucevic, one more call it, like I think he's fine. Prefer him on FanDuel though, 8,100.
Yep. Yep. I agree. And like I said, if I'm playing, we have Chris asking this exact question here. I finally got the comments to come up, guys. So if I missed anything earlier, you want to ask it again, feel free. But we did get Chris here. If you had to choose Vooch, Aiton, or both, I mean, for me, it's Aiton. He's just been playing better. And like I said, Vooch has been pretty easy to predict. And if he can get a mismatch where he's playing a smaller front court, he tends to crush. Otherwise, it's usually the backcourt that's doing most of the lifting for Chicago. But you feel similarly? It sounds like you did. It sounded like you were pretty bullish on Aiton, not so much on Vooch. But
Yeah, I'd probably say Aiden. I mean, Vooch is still fine, but Aiden I feel like has been more consistent in terms of fancy scores. So I'll go with Aiden.
yeah, a few other comments here. We're seeing that Brown and Porzingis were in. Tatum was out. We did deal with that. We did just get the Detroit news though. Cade's
Mhm.
out and Fontecchio. So this is interesting. I got to see what I'm going to project as a starting lineup here. It's been a while. I'll refresh the data. We're going to have to keep refreshing it. And usually I know we go position by position. I think today, with all the news and the slates being different, let's just go by team and then we can talk about maybe some core plays at the end. Just go positionless before we do our final DK build. But yeah, with Detroit now, man. I mean, you have to think Sasser probably gets the start at point guard, or would they go Malachi Flynn? Flynn hasn't really been in the rotation at all, so I'm thinking Sasser becomes really interesting as guard value. I'm going to make the question hard for you though. Sasser or Pritchard from that same game if Sasser starts a point?
Ooh, that's really tough.
Yeah,
Well,
well, I didn't want to just say, do you like him? Because I think we both like him, but it's going to be tough.
and then you also have like Banton and White, so I feel like I gotta
Mm,
pick. Um, I would probably go Pritchard. I think his floor is probably a little bit safer with Hauser out minutes
yeah.
wise, but I think Sasser's another really good play. I like them both.
Yeah. No, I agree. I do like them both. The good news with Sasser is he does have that shooting guard eligibility, so it makes it a little bit easier to get him into your lineups if you are using that PG spot for Pritchard. White also has shooting guard eligibility. But like we said before, I mean, if Fontecchio was going to be out, we already liked Ivy. We think we have to like him even more, and we're going to wait on the starting lineup. But if we get Fournier sliding in, he's going to look really good here. Wouldn't be shocked if maybe they go to Troy Brown. They just signed Taj Gibson, but they're big enough. I don't think they're getting Taj on the floor with Stewart and Durant. That would be ridiculous. But yeah, let me refresh the news because obviously they got a pretty weird bench right now. That starting lineup could look kind of funky, but
I
we'll
hate
wait
to
and
say
see.
it, it might be Evan Fournier time, man. 3,600. They're really depleted at forward, so that's
Yeah,
why.
man. I mean, I would like it. Like, I'm hoping it is
Yeah,
him because I don't like playing Troy Brown. Ev Boowoman, I can't pronounce his name. He hasn't been involved. So, yeah, I think it's going to be 48, but we'll keep an eye on that one for sure. But kind of picking up where we left off, let me see here. So, we talked about the Bulls. We definitely like a lot of Portland. So, now we're on to this 9 o'clock game, and I believe this one is also on the FanDuel slate. Let me just confirm that. Da, da, da. OF index if we're going. Yeah, so this one is on the FanDuel slate. You could play this game on FanDuel. The next three we talk about are DK only. But yeah, so for Minnesota, obviously still no count. We're getting Rudy questionable. Kyle Anderson questionable as well. That one's a little bit surprising to me, but I'll talk through these guys quickly. I mean, I like Edwards. Obviously, has plenty of upside, but this is the most we've paid for him in his entire career. So where he's 10K and over now, kind of tough to get to him. I don't mind him as a tournament play, but yeah, I will say if Rudy's in, he looks really good here. It is his former team. I don't want to buy too much into the revenge, but with Cat out, obviously that's going to boost his upside. Mike Conley. Pretty high floor, pretty low ceiling. Kyle Anderson, if he's in, is okay. If he's out though, and or Rudy's out, obviously we're going to want to get to some Naz Reid. The thing is, both sites did a really good job pricing him up now. He's just under 8K on FanDuel, 7,300 on DK. Shouts out to the undrafted forward here, slash center from LSU. And then Jaden McDaniels could be very interesting if Kyle Anderson's out here as well. I can't finish this summary without mentioning Alexander Walker. If he starts and we get Anderson out, he'd probably be pretty interesting. But yeah, is there anything really jumping off the page for Minnesota? I mean, I think we like them as a group, but it really depends on that news.
yeah, right there with you, man. Like, I think it depends on this Kyle Anderson news. Either way, I think Anthony Edwards, fantastic play up top at 10K,
Yeah.
low ownership for him on DraftKings at least. So I do like him a lot in tournaments. I like the nickel fold, man. If Anderson sits, nickel's actually been pretty decent from a
Yeah.
fantasy perspective. So I would like that call a lot if he started Anderson's time.
Yeah, man, he's done a good job passing this year. In years past, he was super scoring dependent, like an Alec Burks, but he's kind of filled out his game, which makes him easier to get to in DFS. But yeah, keep an eye on that news. It is a great matchup for them against Utah. Then on the Utah side of things, Jordan Clarkson's still out. Laurie Markkinen is questionable. I don't know if Laurie went through shoot around. Did you catch anything on that?
I have no idea. I gotta imagine. Actually, I have no idea. I'm not gonna say.
No, you're good, man. I mean, we're projecting him in. I mean, if he's in, obviously he's a good play here. If he's out, though, still no Clarkson. I mean, George, Sexton are going to look really good. John Collins has been fine, but with Kessler back, let's cut into his upside a little bit. If Markkinen's out again, Taylor Hendricks probably becomes interesting, unless Sensabaugh starts over him. But whichever of those two guys gets to start at the three, I wouldn't mind getting to. But yeah, man, I mean, if Laurie's in, I don't know that there's any real priority here for Utah. Are you seeing that any differently?
Yeah, man. I don't. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I don't see any like must here. I guess Sexton, if
Mm,
Markin were to sit off the bench which is kind of weird. Why did he come off the bench last game? That was kind of confusing.
Yeah.
But I think he could be a decent GVP flyer, but it's really tough to get to anyone here with confidence.
Yeah, man. So let me touch on a few of these questions while I have them. And then we'll get into these late games. So yeah, a lot of value. I'm asking if Stewart gets minutes. Yeah, Stewart's been playing 30 plus a night for Detroit. The issue is he's not always super productive when he's on the floor with Duran. I think with Fontecchio out tonight, though, that usage probably has to go up. But yeah, I'm fine getting to Stewart. Just kind of, I don't know, limited upside for his minutes. And then as a follow up on that, we got like 10 of the same question here on Evan Fournier. So Fournier revenge from Cal. I'm trying to scroll down. My computer's going slow because I got 1,700 things open. Let's see here. Oh, I got to hide it. And then it lets me scroll. Is that how it works?
I think so, yeah. I can get him off you too if it's not popping up.
No, you're good, man. So yeah, we're getting a lot of love here for Fournier, and I think we feel the same, or maybe you're a little bit more bullish. But for me, if he starts, he's a no-brainer. Like,
Yeah.
definitely get him into your lineup. If he comes off the bench, I still do like him, but I'd probably get to some of that Boston, Portland value maybe ahead of him. But yeah, I mean, if he starts, I love him. Off the bench, I'd be a little bit concerned, but if he's low owned, I do like him as a tournament play.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, man. If he starts, really would like him. If he doesn't start, he still should get minutes, but definitely not like a lock in the play. If he
Okay.
does.
Yeah, and sorry guys. Usually we like to bring the comments up on the screen. That's just another thing we're having issues with today. I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's probably going to mess things up. And yeah, I wouldn't look too deeply into the revenge narrative there. I mean, I think he had a decent stint in Boston, and Fournier's played for like every team in the East now. So if you have that much
Yeah,
vengefulness in your heart, I mean, probably not a good thing, but either way, I like him if he starts, and if he doesn't, he's probably fine as a tournament play. So let's get into these 10 o'clock games now. I've been kind of slow, so we got to speed things up. Again, we got a late start too. I think that's part of it. But Memphis, very long injury report here. Clark, Kennard, Morant, Pippen, Rose, Smart, Stevens, Watanabe, Zaire Williams all out, and Vince Williams is doubtful. So what's left from Memphis? And of what's left, I mean, they did just get Bane back. Is there anything you're interested in here?
yeah. So looking at this at last time, I thought Bane maybe could be in play 8,200. I'm just a little bit worried about just like him coming back from the ankle injury. So I don't know, man. I don't hate the 8,200, but I think I'll probably look at other guys. And then Goodwin, I think if he starts, is not the worst option at 5K as well. If he doesn't start, I'll have zero interest in Goodwin though. Those are kind of the guys I was looking at.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. And I'll say this. I don't mind Bane as a tournament play. He's kind of priced where he should be, though. So there's not a ton of meat on that bone. And then I feel similarly about Jaren Jackson. I actually think he has decent upside, maybe even a little more than Bane. The one projected lineup I'm seeing has Bane at point guard. If it is good one, I totally agree. He'd be someone I'd be considering. But really, it's just those two studs. Quote unquote studs for the Grizzlies. On the other side, we have the Kings, and only Trey Lyles and Sasha V over on that injury report. So they're healthy, but they've been getting some really good games out of Sabonis and Fox. I don't mind them here. Obviously, some slight blowout risk, but is there anything you're prioritizing for Sacramento? I was a little bit surprised by some of this ownership. We're seeing 28% on Harrison Barnes, 24 on Monk, 23 on Murray. I mean, no one's significance really out unless you consider Trey Lyles like some major significant piece. I guess he plays a lot of minutes, but like I don't know, man. Some of these guys seem overowned to me. Sabonis may be underowned, but the rest, I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, man. Like I hate you. If you guys know me in Discord, like I hate Harrison Barnes as like whenever he's chalk. I mean, I get it. He's 4,200, but like, what are we really looking for? Like 25 to 30 as a ceiling, maybe. So I don't know, man. I think he's fine as chalk, but with all these other news, I'll probably try to get off him if I can.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, man. And again, I mean, we have so many teams where these guys are like, I don't know, getting tons of extra minutes because they're super banged up rotations. And here in Sacramento, we have no Trey Lyles. So, like, maybe Barnes gets a few extra minutes, but if he's a low fantasy point per minute player, which he is, I mean, that doesn't really boost him enough for me to be all that interested if he's chalk. But yeah, I mean, Fox and Sabonis are fine if you're landing on them. I don't mind Monk, but guard is loaded tonight.
It's
Um, yeah, speaking of which, let's get into, or maybe no cards from this game. But yeah, we got the Knicks and the Warriors here. No injury report for the Warriors. Um, which is annoying. But we got the Knicks, no OG, no Randall, no Robinson. So they're pretty healthy. I mean, the same guys have been out that have been out. Obviously, OG kind of in and out. But yeah, a decent matchup here. I mean, Precious getting a ton of love though over on DK. I do like the price a lot, 5,300. That's probably too cheap, knowing he's going to play 32 to 35 minutes. Um, don't mind mixing in the likes of Brunson Hart, DiVincenzo. This should be a fun and competitive game. A little bit surprised by the Precious ownership, but at the same time, I mean, point per dollar, he is someone I'd want in low risk or cash lineups. But how do you feel about Precious, and then how do you feel about the rest of these Knicks here against Golden State?
Yeah, man. I think Precious is fine as chalk. He was another guy with Barnes. Like I wasn't too sure why they were chalk. I get OGs out, so I think I'm more comfortable eating the Precious chalk than I am the Barnes chalk. So I think he's fine. I'll probably be around the fields. Then the rest of these guys, like DiVincenzo and Hart, I'm just not really getting to that much, man. So probably just Precious for me.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I do think there's some leverage potential there if you were to go Hart over Precious, just because we've seen him spike upsides with OG out. But I don't know. At the price, I don't know if it's like something I'm going to do aggressively, knowing there's a 2K gap there. Honestly, full visibility. I'm more on FanDuel tonight with the short slate. I'll probably play some late slate DK, so I am still interested in these games. But yeah, we can talk about Golden State really quickly. It sounds like Curry is going to be back tonight. No injury report for them. I don't know if that's because no one's injured or they just haven't submitted it. But yeah, I don't know. There's nothing here I'm crazy about with Curry back. I mean, Wiggins probably still a little bit too cheap. Thompson's flashed some upside off the bench. I mean, Jackson Davis, if you're desperate for value at center, but I don't know, man. No ownership on these guys. This is as healthy as they've been, and a lot of them are kind of priced up to have Curry out, which he isn't anymore. So that makes it tough.
Yeah, this is the team. Sometimes I just like to cross off a team from my player pool. This might be a team I probably just cross off on DraftKings. So with
Yeah,
Curry.
man. Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. And yeah, if there's anything, maybe it's Curry just trying to spike the upside in a primetime game there. But I don't know. I'm with you. I don't think you really have to force anything there. And then one last game, and then we will get the DK build in, and I will try to get to as many of the last questions as I can. But yeah, last game on the board here. We have Wait. Oh yeah, Hawks and Lakers. So pretty pacey matchup. First and foremost, Okongwu could be back tonight. He's listed as questionable. Still no Trey Young or Sadiq Bey for the Hawks. Murray looks okay to me. I don't mind him if you're paying up. Probably not a priority, but something you can mix in. Feel similarly about Jalen Johnson in that mid range. I really don't love the matchup for Capella. If Okongwu is back, that makes it probably even worse for him. Bogdanovich has had some decent games, but I don't know. Anything you're prioritizing here for Atlanta? I do not mind the prices on Bogdanovich or Hunter, but can't call them priorities. I mean, I like the pay ups more than anything, and even then, I think there's just a lot of plays in their price ranges that I prefer.
Yeah, so I really do like Jalen Johnson here once again for Atlanta. So I had him lastly. I believe he was like 10% owned. I was way behind from the cash. He had a huge game,
Yeah.
probably in the cash there. But yeah, I feel like it's the great matchup here for Jalen. Pretty good price points. I do love Jalen and GPPs. And then DeJounte Murray at 9.8K seems like a really pricey point, but without Trey, he's been elite, man. So don't hate DeJounte at 9.8K as well.
Yeah, man, he's been solid, and no one seems to want to pay that price, even though he's a completely different player with Trey Young out. And Trey's been out for weeks, so a little bit surprised that the field has been so slow to adjust to that. I did just want to say Alex Caruso is in for the Bulls tonight. Still like Ao and DeRozan there, but Caruso definitely a solid play as well. We did get the Cavs starting lineup. It is Levert at the 2, so definitely like him. Yang at the 4 is fine as value. I don't mind Okoro as a pivot, but that's a lineup we like to see. Bilal Koulibaly is out for the rest of the season. That's unfortunate. The Wizards go from terrible to even worse. And we are on to the Lakers here. So, as is always the case, we got AD and LeBron both questionable. Tight
For the
enough spread here.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, man, this is kind of tricky. I like AD, especially on DK, which is the only site this game's on the main slate because he's only 100 cheaper than LeBron. That feels kind of crazy to me. Both are good plays, but yeah, AD feels too cheap. You can mix in Russell Reeves. Rui's been playing pretty well, but he's priced up now. So I don't know. If anything, I'll probably get to some AD here. Maybe LeBron is a tournament pivot, but how you feel about these Lakers in a pretty good matchup against the Hawks?
Yeah, so kind of similar to Jalen Johnson, I think both LeBron and AD good tournament plays here. I think isn't AD. I mean, he's questionable. They're both questionable every slate, man. They're
Yeah.
on. I think I probably prefer AD here in this matchup against Capella, but I think both LeBron and AD pretty good tournament spends here. So
Yeah, man, I'm with you. And I wish Rui was a little cheaper because with no Wood or Vanderbilt, he's been seeing more minutes. But 5,900, kind of tough to get excited about. All right, so I'm gonna drag over a DK window here, and we could build in just a second. But before I do, we got a bunch of questions. I don't know how my scrolling is going to go, but we'll give it a go. Okay, so we'll start with Emma and work our way down. So Hendricks for Utah. I say only if Laurie's out, and even then he might be overowned. Not crazy, but I don't know. Just kind of a guy for me tonight. How about you, Jayhawk?
um, yeah, man, I'm kind of similar to you. I don't see him as like a decent play for me. I probably won't get there.
Yeah, a couple of these I'm going to skip. I'm going to go quick just so we can get wrap
Yeah.
up. But yeah, we already talked about Nas Reed. I think he's fine as a tournament play, even with Gobert in. If Gobert's out, he's someone I would want to get into lineups if I am in tournaments. But just remember, the sites did price him up. I mean, he was kind of a smash play in the situation when he was around 6K, but now he's up around 8. Still like the player, still don't mind the matchup. So yeah, I'd get to him, but tough to like force him in over some of the other obvious plays we have tonight. Ivy Detroit, Unicorn on FanDuel, absolutely love it. I think Cal, don't worry, at least your sound levels are good. That was probably when I was saying we were going too slow. Shouts out Eric here at 925. We could just call Fournier Batman for his vengeance. Yeah, playing in Gotham City there. Caruso's in. Warriors are healthy. Oh, and then Anson said Precious isn't starting. Wait, maybe he is. I think he might, man, just because OG's out. And we've seen that with OG out. We're getting him in the starting lineup. So to include you now, Jayhawk, after I ran
Mhm.
through a bunch of easy ones, what are your thoughts on Speed McKay for Boston?
Yeah, man. So that's a kind of ironic question to go in here. I think he's fine, man. I don't know. I probably won't get there. I think I'd rather play Brissett if he starts here, 31 or 3,400.
Yep. I kind of agree. I think Brissett's a little safer.
Yeah,
Ant-Man or Jalen Brown? Oh, man, that's tough. At their prices, I think it's Brown for me, but obviously Ant Man probably is the higher ceiling, but Brown's almost 2K cheaper.
yeah,
Um,
I
I could check
agree.
the model. Yeah, I'm
Jalen
refreshing
Brown,
the model.
Jalen Brown probably the safer point per dollar play. I think definitely the bigger ceiling, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and I answered that almost thinking Tatum was still in. With Tatum out, I feel even better about going Brown. I mean, but yeah, just I know we're not going position by position today, guys. So I'll do a quick ownership check on both sides. So we're seeing Sasser as chalk on DK. O'Shea Brissett. We just talked about it. We feel better about him than Svi, so it's good to see the fields with us on that. Excuse me. Peyton Pritchard looks solid here. Umude for Detroit, probably a little bit risky. I guess if he's starting at 3K flat, that makes some sense. I prefer to go Fournier. Obviously, we prefer Fournier to start. I will say this: if Umude starts over Fournier, I still think Fournier is the safer play. You could probably mix them both, though. Again, they're very, very thin tonight. Davis popular. We talked about he's a little bit too cheap. Jaime looks great here with Jimmy out, Levert, Brown, White band. I mean, anything shocking to you out of this ownership here for DK?
I feel like Amudia is a little bit higher than I projected.
Yeah, probably.
I guess if he starts, he's a decent value play. I guess he's 3K flat, so I get it, but he's not really a great fancy producer, as I know. So I think he's probably a little bit over on unless he starts.
Yeah, man, no, I totally agree. Hold on. I'm trying to hide your comment, Jose, and it's asking me. Ugh, I think I hit the wrong button.
I think I'm just
I'm a
gonna get.
great producer, guys. No, what are you saying?
I think I'm gonna get all Anthony Davis tonight, man. With all this
On
like
DK, yeah.
all this value now, I feel like I'm just gonna jam up the center.
Yeah, you're going to enjoy your night too because it's going to be the last game on the slate. A lot of people are going to have no PMR, and you have the best player on the court just climbing up leaderboards, which is always
oh,
fun too. Yeah,
oh,
man. So I'll use that to transition to Glenn here, and then we'll build quick on DK, guys. I know we were a little bit late today, so we'll go a minute or two over, but we got Pritchard as chalk, Porzingis at 44%, maybe a little bit overowned. But I mean, you get the power forward eligibility. I don't think it's crazy. It is a great matchup. Even if he plays just 30 minutes, he's pretty damn good. But I'll say I do think I slightly prefer Allen over him for 200 more. He's very popular as well. Sasser looks great. Love Jalen Brown. DeRozan's fine. Brissett's good. I mean, nothing's standing out as ugly. I do like Banton more than some of the other value. Your Brissett's. Maybe Banton over Ao and Caruso now that they're both in. But yeah, man, I don't know if you're playing FanDuel tonight, but is anything really jumping off the page at you here?
Um, yeah, it's interesting to see Chris Kristaps being 50% on FanDuel, 14% on DraftKings.
Yeah.
Um, do you have like a hunch on if we think Porzingis is just full go off the injury?
I mean, he's kind of been limited to 30 anyway. We have him at 29. I think that's fair. And but the reason I think the ownership's so different is you have all those late games on DK,
Yeah,
but we don't over on FanDuel. So we kind of need those centers. Like we don't have Sabonis or the Lakers or et cetera, et cetera. But
that's fair. Not, I think he's fine on FanDuel. I like him. He's in a good spot here.
yeah, man, I agree. But yeah, I mean, I think the Celtics are probably your safest chalk. I don't know that I could call Brissett safe, but he probably is again with Hauser out. But Pritchard, Brown, White look excellent to me. Really do like Sasser for Detroit. But yeah, man, quick builds. Obviously, we're up against the clock, but let's start with Boston. I'll go Pritchard. Obviously, I'm guessing we want Brown and White as well.
Yeah, if we could fit both in, that'd probably be ideal.
I think we can. I mean, and then if we want to use the value on Brissett, do we go for Celtics or do we go Brissett pulling off or what are your thoughts? Because I mean, I trust these three more than Brissett, but at 3,400, he might be something you need. I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna come down to Brissett versus Fournier for me. I think they're both fine. I do lean Fournier if he starts though.
Okay, yeah,
But I
no, I
think
think that's
Brissett's a
fair.
fair play too. I think they're both fair plays.
Yeah, I mean, if Fournier doesn't start, just go to Brissett if you want to be safe. But for the sake of this, we'll get Evan in there. He's got that small forward eligibility as well. I did really like Sasser, but we're gonna have used all our guard positions,
I don't know if
which
there's
is
too many forwards I want or centers on the slate. So
yeah, I mean, I know we wanted to try to get a D in there, um,
yeah, I really
and
like
I'm totally with you on that one. He's center only. We'll just plug
watch,
him in.
watch them randomly sit now, and we're just like,
Oh God, I mean that's the thing. I mean, let's see if we're looking at the late schedule. Yeah, I mean, if he sits, you almost want to have a 2 for 2. So
yeah,
let's go Jalen Johnson, and then
I
like
love
if
that.
he's out, we can upgrade Johnson to LeBron, and then downgrade Davis to Capella or something like that, and then we're left with 4K flat for forward. And what does that leave us with? This is going to
Um,
be interesting.
yeah, I love that mini correlation there with Johnson 82. That's a really sharp
Yeah, no, I
two.
like that too. Um, yeah, that just gives us options. And honestly, I'd have Johnson down at the other forward spot in all likelihood, but I just wanted to see what was available here. I mean, nothing I feel super good about. Jalen Smith has been playing more minutes for Indy. I guess he'd be where I'd go. Just check his game
Yeah.
log. Eh. I mean, maybe if we downgrade somewhere, we can
Um,
upgrade. Like, I mean, this would be one. If we didn't play White, which I don't feel great about, we go Sasser, and then we're left with 5K
we go
and a half.
Brissett up forward and then see what that unlocks.
Yeah, that's probably a smart move. Then we're left with 77, and I think we got better options than Jalen Smith there. Yeah, how about his teammate Pascal Siakam?
There we
We
go.
got Siakam.
No,
If you want even more to pivot with late, you could go D'Angelo there. But I like Garland. I like Simons. I mean,
Garland's
that
great too. Yeah.
yeah, that looks really good. Last question or two, guys, that we're gonna wrap up. Thanks again for tuning in. We will have someone live in Discord. Are you on double today or
I'm not. No, I think
okay?
it's. Is it Eric today? I gotta
I
see.
think it's Eric. But yeah, he's probably going live right now. Can we rank Rozier, D White, Duren on DraftKings? For me, that would be D White, Rozier, Duren. I think. How about you?
I'll say White, Rozier, Duran as well.
Nice, nice. So we're on the same page. And then yeah, Bain versus Sacramento, definitely solid tournament play. Looks like he's healthy coming back from this injury. He had a pretty good game last time out. Um, not many guys there taking up his usage, so he's fine as a tournament play. Some blowout risk. But I think that's it for today, man. Any last thoughts on this slate? Pretty interesting one on both sides, I'd say.
Not too much. Definitely load up on Boston, Detroit here. and mix in these low end plays with the Atlanta Lakers game, and hopefully that's the shipper tonight. At least I'm gonna hope so.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. Definitely keep an eye on these lineups as they break. And yeah, especially on DK where we have these late games. But once again, everyone, thanks for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Like the channel, subscribe so you know when we go live. And yeah, let's have some fun tonight, make some money, and hoping to see those screenshots in Discord. Take care, everyone.
See you guys. Good luck.